Welcome to Pistons Talk Podcast. Hope you guys are having a great night. In today's episode, what we'll be discussing is the Dennis Schroder sign-in trade, what the Detroit Pistons got out of this deal, the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster, that dropped today as well, what players I'm going to be keeping an eye on, and some players that you guys should be looking out as well during this week of Summer League. And then there was a stretch five that was mentioned in the Detroit Pistons' latest trade rumors. We'll be going over that and how likely I think this type of trade scenario could possibly be. So let's get straight into the Dennis Schroder stuff. That's probably why you guys are here. So we got a report from a Sacramento Kings beat reporter who covers the team every day. And he tweeted out, according to league sources, the Kings are set to acquire Dennis Schroder using part of the $16.8 million TPE from the Kevin Huerter trade. Deal should be completed in the next day or so. Kings will acquire a future second. Detroit lands a trade exception. So there are some draft picks coming in for Detroit, and there's some draft picks coming in for Sacramento as well. And we're going to go over that in a minute. Brett Siegel from Clutch Points has a little bit more details on the draft capital that will be attached in this Dennis Schroder sign-in trade. He had a tweet saying that Detroit creates about $14.8 million in trade exception that can be utilized over the next year at the cost of a second-round pick. Kings will keep their mid-level exception intact. So there were two options for the Detroit Pistons with these, negotiations and conversations with the Kings and the sign and trade. There was the player exception route that the Pistons could take, and there was also a route where they could absorb up to 22 point something million in salary. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, so I do apologize there, but they can create up to $14.8 million in a trade exception. Now, Pistons really haven't used their player exceptions. I was scrolling on the timeline. Keith Black Trudeau, who's just a really good Pistons follow. If you guys haven't followed him already, definitely should. He said over, the last 10 trade exceptions, the Pistons have used it actually 3 times. So they've had player exceptions in the past, haven't really used them. But I think with some draft picks being attached, I think the Pistons do have a plan of what they want to do. With this player exception, they might have a player in mind that they're going to try to acquire. And I don't know who the player is. I don't know a position that they feel that they need to, address. We've discussed backup point guard. We've discussed backup power forward. But they will be getting about $14.8 million in trade exception. Now, I did mention draft capital. Now, Brett Siegel also has some information in terms of draft capital in this sign and trade deal. So he tweeted out that the Pistons are getting a protected 2026 second round pick from Sacramento. Kings are getting a 2029 second from Detroit. Now, the Pistons have kind of sneakily gotten a lot of second round picks over the past couple of years. So draft pick in the second round 4 years out. Who knows who's it going to be? Who knows if it even stays with Sacramento? Second round picks get traded like crazy. Now, an unprotected second round pick, I don't know how heavily protected this is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 31 through 55 protections, because sometimes that's what second round picks are protected for. And I also don't know which second round pick it's going to be, because Sacramento next season, going into next draft, they have 2 second round picks. They have their own that they own, and they also have Charlotte's. So I don't know which second round pick they did trade, but that was just kind of like the full breakdown. The Kings get Dennis Schroder. The Pistons get a future second round pick that is protected, and they get a player exception up to $14.8 million to kind of work with. And I know this whole just sign-in trade saga has been going on for 4 days. 1 minute it's Malik Monk, next minute it's not. 2 days later, the negotiations are back. It was just such a headache trying to follow. I'm sure a lot of you guys that were scrolling the timeline on Twitter are just trying to follow it across social media. It was very annoying. and I'm glad it's over. I know some Pistons fans were probably upset that we're not getting Malik Monk or doing a sign and trade, acquiring a player back, but I don't really think that the Detroit Pistons are finished in free agency. They still have the room exception where they can sign some free agents. I believe the room exception is around $8 million, so they can fill out the roster that way. And maybe you get a backup point guard, maybe you get a backup power forward, maybe some more wing help. I'm not really sure, but um, just know that the Detroit Pistons are not done adding players in free agency. They'll probably still try to fill out the roster the best they can, but did want to kind of update you guys on the Dennis Schroder situation um, because it's just been a headache, you guys. It really has. Um, we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to be looking at the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster. We'll be right back, you guys. Okay, we are back after a quick commercial break. We're going to transition over to the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster. So, this came out earlier today, you guys. There are some players that you're probably going to be familiar with. There are also some players that you might not even recognize, and that is perfectly fine. A lot of these guys are G League players, undrafted free agents trying to make it on a two-way contract or just an NBA roster for that matter. So let's go over this roster. We'll start from top to bottom. So TJ Bickerstaff, he is related to JB Bickerstaff. I actually added Jordan Bickerstaff, who's JB's nephew, and he said had no idea that his cousin was going to be on the Summer League roster. So he is going to be playing with the Detroit Pistons. He's going to be wearing number 49. He's a forward, 6'9", 207. So we're going to have to see what he's all about if he gets an opportunity to play, because you look on this roster, there's a lot of competition at the forward spots. Next, we have Garrison Brooks, number 48. He's a center, 6'10", 240 out of Mississippi State. I'd like to assume that he is going to be behind Tolu Smith because Tolu is a two-way player, so he probably is going to get priority in this summer league to get a bulk of the starter minutes. But Garrison Brooks will be your backup center in the summer league for the Pistons. Number 29, we have Sincere Carey. He's a guard, 6'1", 185 out of Kent State. So I assume he's going to be a backup point guard or a shooting guard. I don't like to discourage because, I mean, we have Marcus Sasser on the roster, and a lot of us like to categorize him as a shooting guard. We don't really categorize him as a point guard, so maybe he is a combo guard. Never really know. And I'll be completely transparent with you. I've never heard of him until today. So maybe it's because I don't watch a whole lot of college basketball. I'd like to watch more, but I don't get the opportunity to watch as much as I probably should. But don't really know too much about him. Number 47, Dawson Garcia, forward, 6'11", 230 out of Minnesota. If that name does sound familiar to Pistons fans, it's because he's an undrafted free agent. Stretch 4. I think he's going to be one of the favorites out of the Summer League roster just because there's a lot about his game that is very appealing. And if you're a Michigan fan, you probably remember him because he was cooking Michigan. But Dawson Garcia will be on the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster. Ron Holland, going back to number 5, if you guys do peep that on this roster list, he was 00, but with Malik Beasley gone, he's going back to number 5, it looks like. So Ron Allen will be probably the main focal point, in my opinion, and the leader of this Summer League roster. Him and Bobby Klitman, in my opinion, are probably going to be the most vocal leaders on this basketball team. Number 24, Donis Jenkins. I'm sure you guys remember him from last Summer League. He was also a Detroit Pistons two-way and the Motor City Cruise starting point guard all last season. So he's going to be coming back, and he's probably going to be your starting point guard for the Summer League roster. Number 37, Trevor Keels, guard, out of Duke, 6'5". Trajan had to get a Dookie in there, so I'm not really too disappointed in it. Interested to see what he can do in the Summer League for the Pistons. Number 34, Bobby Klitman, sure a lot of you guys are very interested to see what Bobby Klitman can do for the Detroit Pistons, and so am I. I'm really curious to see how Bobby's game has gotten better, how he's developed. Spent a whole lot of time with the Motor City Cruise. Didn't get too much burn with the Detroit Pistons this year just because the rotations were set, and he had a calf contusion really early on in the season. But I'm excited to see what Bobby uh, has to offer the Detroit Pistons in the Summer League. Number 39, Miller Kopp. He's another forward out of Indiana, and it looks like he played for the Oklahoma City Blue. So he was in the G League last year. So there is some G League experience there. Number 20, Chaz Lanier, 6'5" guard, our only draft pick this year. So Chaz Lanier is going to be wearing the number 20, joins the likes of John Barry, Allen Houston, and others to wear that number. One of the best shooters in this year's draft class. So interested to see how Chaz does in the Summer League for the Detroit Pistons. Number 27, TJ Madlock. He's a guard, 6'3", out of Alabama. So, I mean, those Alabama guards are usually pretty good. Interested to see how TJ Madlock does for the Detroit Pistons Summer League team. I don't know how much time he'll get because if you kind of look at this roster, it's pretty guard heavy. But you never know. Number 35, Tolu Smith. He'll probably be your starting center. He was on the Detroit Pistons Summer League roster last year. He eventually was on their preseason team as well, got cut, got sent down to the Motor City Cruise, balled out so well that the Detroit Pistons rewarded him and gave him a two-way contract. So he is still one of the Detroit Pistons two-ways. John, I'm probably going to butcher this, so I apologize. I'm just going to say John Yu. John Yu, Eastern Kentucky. He was a Motor City Cruise guy as well. I remember reading a story about him. Really athletic, high energy forward. I think a lot of you guys are really going to like him. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name because I know I'll probably butcher the hell out of it. It's just how I am. Number 38, Bryce Williams, guard, 6'6", out of Nebraska. He is another undrafted free agent, you guys. So he'll probably get priority as well. In terms of playing time, I'm sure Trajan in the front office want to see what he's all about. He's one of the better undrafted free agents. In my personal opinion, I'm kind of surprised he didn't get drafted, but he's going to be part of the Detroit Pistons Summer League team. And last but not least, Sakai Ziegler. He's a 5'9" guard. He was actually Chaz Lanier's backcourt mate at Tennessee. And you guys are just going to love his defensive intensity. He's a junkyard dog type of defender. I really like him. I think the size is probably the one thing that goes against him because he's only 5'9", but really, really just like what he brings on both ends of the court. But that's the Summer League roster. I mean, I don't really know what to think. I don't know how many games you're going to win, but I think it'll be fun. You have a lot of guys that are really high energy. You have guys that can stretch the floor, rebound, pass, defend. You're probably looking at a starting five of Donis Jenkins at your point guard, Chaz Lanier shooting guard, Ron Holland a small forward, Bobby Klitman a power forward, and Tolu Smith. And then you have some guys off of your bench like Sakai Ziegler, Bryce Williams, Dawson Garcia, Garrison Brooks to kind of fill out your bench, and you have some guys that might not get a whole lot of playing time until the last day or last 2 days of Summer League. But this is a pretty solid roster, you guys. I don't know if it's Summer League championship material, but I feel like every year we say that the Detroit Pistons are going to win the Summer League championship, and we get really close. I feel like if there was a championship for the Detroit Pistons getting close to, winning the Summer League championship, we'd probably have like 3 or 4 by now. It seems like every year they get really close, but I like the roster. I'm intrigued with Bryce Williams, Dawson Garcia. Excited to see how Ron and Bobby have developed, but that's the roster. Nothing too much other to say than that. They do play, I believe, this week. I don't have the schedule pull up in front of me, but I know that the Detroit Pistons do play a Summer League game this week. But I did want to transition into our final topic of tonight's podcast, you guys. And it was a trade proposal, actually, from I forget who it's from. I'm about to read it in a minute. Jake Weinbach. Okay, Jake Weinbach, NBA reporter. And he had this tweet. I kind of want to discuss this because I feel like all the reports that the Pistons are trying to acquire stretch five, all the stretch fives that they wanted to quote unquote target, Naz Reid resigned, Miles Turner resigned with the new team. I can't remember the last guy. Santi Aldama resigned with the Grizzlies. So all the guys that they quote unquote were interested in or wanted to target are gone. But this is a report from Jake Weinbach. And I'll read you the tweet for you guys that are watching live on YouTube and you're an audio listener. So Jake tweeted, the market for Nikola Vucevic has been quiet up to this point, but the Pistons are an intriguing team that could emerge as an under-the-radar suitor for the Chicago skillful center. Detroit would value an experienced stretch five of Vucevic's skill set, and the two-time All-Star would be capable of playing alongside Jalen Duren in a potential double big lineup. If there's a genuine interest, the Pistons can approach the Bulls with a proposal centered around 24-year-old Isaiah Stewart in a straightforward swap deal. Vucevic would be entering next season on a $21.4 expiring contract, which means swapping Stewart for a veteran big man in this scenario could create cap flexibility for Detroit in 2026 as well. Okay, so there's a lot to dissect here. Okay. Nikola Vucevic this season kind of turned back the clock. He looked like the old Nikola Vucevic, from his Orlando days, was really stretching the floor. And he gave the Pistons quite a bit of fits early on in the season with the Chicago Bulls. But here's the thing when I'm looking at this proposal. Okay. I'm not going to say that the Pistons don't value a two big lineup. I'm not going to say that. But I think if you want a two big lineup, you would have to have a shooter like a Vucevic. But I think the only problem of having Nikola Vucevic is your starting power forward and Jalen Duren is your center. Vucevic is a traffic cone defensively. He doesn't really move his feet well, and he's getting up there in age. And I would assume that Vucevic doesn't want to make a transition to play power forward next to Jalen Duren. I think if you're Vucevic, you probably want to try to play for a contender, kind of like how Al Horford is going to Golden State. At least Golden State will have an opportunity to compete for the playoffs. I don't really know if the Chicago Bulls are going to be in position to, one, make the play-in or maybe be a sneaky playoff team this season. But the scenario of swapping out Isaiah Stewart for Nikola Vucevic, I think, is completely asinine, just because you'd be losing your backup center and you'd be losing one of the best rim protectors off the bench in Isaiah Stewart, who is on a very good contract, you guys. Like, that contract, when it came out, I know a lot of us were like, that's a lot of money for Stu. Like, $15 million is a lot for Stu. But you look the way the contracts are given out now, it's like the mid-level exception right now. Like, Isaiah Stewart's contract is nice. I like Nikola Vucevic. I do. But I don't think I'd be trading a 24-year-old Isaiah Stewart that hasn't even entered his prime yet for an aging stretch five in Nikola Vucevic. I don't like this trade scenario. I get you would get some cap flexibility, but I think for what it's worth, Isaiah Stewart can stretch the floor too. We didn't get to see it a ton this year. We started to see it a little bit towards the end of the season. He started to shoot more threes because teams were basically daring him to just, hey, shoot a three. You're wide open. And, he did hit a couple. That one year with Monty, he shot a pretty good clip from three as well. I think it's still in Isaiah Stewart's bag. I'd like to see him shoot a little bit more pick and pop with the second unit, or pick and pop when he's out there with Cade Cunningham. But honestly, if I'm the Detroit Pistons, I think you're just going to, keep developing Isaiah Stewart. You're going to keep developing Jalen Duren. I don't really think a trade like that doesn't make too much sense for this team. A trade like that, to me, would kind of just reek of desperation. Just trying to get a veteran center out there that can stretch the floor, and you just have more floor spacers out there. But didn't really like that trade. I saw it on the timeline, saw people talking about it. about Nikola Vucevic to the Detroit Pistons. I don't really think it makes a whole lot of sense from Detroit's perspective of trading one of your best defenders on the team for a guy that's not a defender. He's like a negative defender, but he's a plus offensive player right now. But that's just my thoughts on it. I don't know how you guys feel about Nikola Vucevic, but I did want to wrap up the podcast. I don't want to keep these too long, but let me know what you guys think of the Dennis Schroder sign and trade of the Pistons getting a player exception and a future protected second round pick from the Sacramento Kings. The Summer League roster, any players you guys are looking forward to watching in the Summer League this week, and the Nikola Vucevic for Jalen Turner trade proposal by Jake Weinbach, an NBA reporter. But I will catch you guys tomorrow. We are rescheduling with Sean. We tried to have him on Sunday. He wasn't feeling well. He says he's feeling much better. So we're going to be having Sean on tomorrow at 7:30. So I'll catch you guys then. But take care. Have a good night. And always, you guys, go Pistons. Peace.